What are you building a fort?
Yeah, I'm building a soundproof room so I can't hear you and your stupid opinions. Perfect.
It's funny, my wife does the same thing.
All right, Keith.
Everett.
Happy to see you.
I mean, I guess.
You look like that's a little bit like a habit, like your outfit, like a nun's habit. It's like a nun's outfit.
That's what, yeah, I see that now that you bring it to my attention, and that's exactly what I was going for. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. And,
Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, a great segue. Segue Kings, we're back for this episode.
We're back, baby.
Yes, to a very biblical film.
Yes, that's right. Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit. We're so glad you joined us.
Touchstone Pictures presents the second coming of Sister Mary Clarence.
Hello.
She's back in the habit again.
Keith's new favorite, number one film. Sister,
Number 2, all time.
Sister Act 2. God, I love Whoopi. Those nuns will get you.
The first one, trash. The sequel.
The sequel, gold. Fucking bellissima.
It's Children of Men.
We're almost there, Keith. We're almost there.
It is Children of Men. Another viewer recommendation, I might add, from a good friend of both of ours. Someone we have worked with.
Decent.
A good friend of mine, I should say, and an unfortunate acquaintance of Everett's.
We've met.
Yes. 75% of the dream team that I like to refer to that Spartan had in their internal production department at one time.
100%. I love Erik. I love Erik so much. I'm so happy that he made a recommendation for us to talk about, and I'm thrilled it's this film.
Yeah.
Let me just say. Oh, Erik?
Guys, put my ME in the background so I could be on the show. Cool. All right, awesome. All right, so the movie I want to talk about today is Children of Men. It's from 2006. It's directed by Alfonso Cuarón, Academy Award-winning director. It's shot by Emmanuel Lubezki, who shot Birdman, The Revenant, a bunch of other awesome films. Whenever I'm prompted to do a list of my favorite films, this is always unequivocally number one. I don't even think about it without even blinking. Children of Men, number one. It's my all-time favorite. I think it's an absolute masterpiece. It's fiercely underrated. Not enough people have seen it and know about it. It's like the perfect dystopian sci-fi film, and it feels incredibly real.
Thank you, Erik. But we're going to start with Keith. Keith, there is a 100% chance that this is the first time you ever watched this film.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Of course.
Erik loves it.
Yep. And I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that Erik, knowing Erik, it's like a sad, depressing, dystopian future. Yeah, just
violent.
Yeah. No, all hope is lost. I was like, I bet this is Erik's favorite movie.
So what did you know about it, and what did you think about it?
I knew absolutely nothing about it. I knew when he had mentioned it.
Weird. It's weird.
It's
not for you. I'm not picking on you.
Yeah.
I just mean in general. That there's a lot of people that don't know anything about this movie, and I personally don't know how it kind of flies under the radar a little bit. Like, that's very strange to me.
Yeah, it is under the radar, and it is. But I don't consider myself a film person. Here's what I just like the things that I like, and I love filmmaking and storytelling in general. I'm not a film guy. I'm the anti-film guy because my favorite film is Dumb and Dumber.
I like it a lot.
What I will say is, if you are one of those film people, this is a must-watch. This is an absolute must-watch if you love film. I'm so happy that I watched it now, seeing it, because I feel like it's one of those films you have to see. Whether you enjoy it or not is a different debate, which I will try and continue to push people to separate between what you like and where you can recognize the skill level and the talent in terms of cinema and film. Uh-huh. It's a film, if you're a film lover, you should definitely go watch it, because there's so much, I don't know, to be learned. I don't know if that's the right way to phrase it, but after watching it, I took a lot from it. It's one of the better films I've ever seen, and that surprised the hell out of me. Because I'd never even heard of it when Erik brought it up. I'd never heard of it.
That's wild.
It's which embarrassing to me. Continue to throw shots in the comments.
But that's the point of this movie. Is I think that I think that people who follow film or love film. Erik mentions film lovers and cinephiles. They know this movie pretty well because of its greatness in so much of the technical and craft areas. But the general public, I don't think it comes to consciousness or it comes to mind when we're talking about great films of the last 20 or 30 years very often, and kind of slept on. I don't think it was fully appreciated widely in its time and its initial release, and I think that's crazy. I love this movie. And film hipster that I am, I've loved it from the beginning. I've loved it.
So you're a film guy.
Even before it came out, I knew it was going to be great.
Yeah. Yeah, it was on pre-production in IMDb, and you're like, I bet this is going to be good.
Yeah. No, I think I rented it soon after it was released on DVD. I rented it because I was like, oh, I wonder what this is. And I was just totally blown away. Yeah. I think that this is a rare film that I'm willing to say, if you don't like this movie, or you think it's like overrated, or you don't understand what the hype about it is, you are incorrect. Yeah. Like we're moving past subjectivity into objectivity. This is objectively a great film. It just is. Is it perfect? No, we'll get into that. But it's almost perfect. And there's a lot about it that is perfect. And if you disagree, just stop watching movies because you're not getting it. Yeah, you're not getting it.
Yeah, and if I'm on board with that, like, you're really fucking wrong. Like,
I was ready.
Yeah, as you should have been. You should have been prepared. But I'm excited to keep you on your toes.
Yeah. I had a fear that I'd come into this and you'd be like, it's fine. Like some cool shots. It's fine. I didn't really like it though, and I was just gonna be like fucking.
Well, that is different. Me liking it again. We can talk about if I liked it or not. That's a different conversation.
Well, don't tease me. Don't tease me, Daddy.
Well, that's what Daddy does. Oh God.
I'm going to throw up. I think I'm gonna throw up.
Don't throw up.
So you recognize its greatness, but you hate it. That's what I'm gathering from this tease.
No, I don't hate it. This is where we probably shouldn't start. There's so much positive things to talk about. We can talk about enjoyment levels. I think at a different time. I did like the film. Here, fine. You beat it out of me. You're dying to hear. I did like the film. My respect for the film raised my level of enjoyment for the film. But it's such a sad and depressing film. This, by definition, is a tragedy in my mind. Like it's a tragic Shakespearean story. It's a tragedy. Like, it's sad and it gets sadder. And
wow,
hope is a huge part of this film. I think hope is a huge theme and worth discussing at some point. And maybe now's the time. But thematically, there's a couple themes in the film, and I think they raise really, really interesting questions, and I love that thought-provoking nature from any film. But just from a personal enjoyment process, I don't know, standpoint, I take away the sadness. It's a very sad journey. It's a very sad journey for this main character. Clive Owen never realizes the success that they've had, whether his journey was worth it or not. The viewer gets that satisfaction, but he does not. And that's a great move. Again, great storytelling. I love the emotional pull that has. But it makes me fucking sad. Like, it makes me sad. And I don't love those experiences. I'm not looking to feel sad. Does that make sense?
Sure. I think it's fascinating because what I just read a little while ago about this is Alfonso Cuarón, the director, who's a phenomenally talented man. He talks about how this film, if you're like he left it, I believe, in kind of ambiguous, where he thinks that if you're a hopeful person, you're going to see hope. And if you're a bleak person, you're a pessimist, you're going to feel hopelessness and feel sad. And I think that's interesting to try to make it like kind of like a Rorschach test of a film ending, where it's you're going to see what you want to see. So you're almost telling on yourself based on what you see. Yeah. So in true to Keith Macri fashion, I think you see sadness and bleakness.
Is that what you see? I think it's interesting. That sort of magic eye thing. Do you see happiness? You see like a bright, fruitful future, and
as much as one can in this crazy world. I love the story. Like, I love so much of this, but I love a story that you watch and you're affected by, and then the film ends, and as you continue to think about it, which this movie always makes me do, I love endless sacrifice to achieve a goal. So like the ends justifying the means, and I love that all of these people, even the villainous characters, all have a goal that they're trying to accomplish that they think will make for a better world. Whether that's political or moral or ethical or whatever their goals are, and it all revolves around this woman and her child, and at the end, everyone's dead, except for her, who is now, and the baby, who are now in a position of hope and potential happiness and salvation, and everyone sacrificed themselves for their beliefs and for their support of this ideal. And I just think that's like remarkable. That's just like a remarkable, sad, tragic, but also very like happy, powerful, because it's like you all like get into my own psychology. Everyone wants to feel like they lived and died for a purpose. Like I don't ever want to die. I don't want to die of fucking cancer or getting smoked by a car on the highway, because then it's just like random sadness. You want to feel like there's a meaning to everything, even though that's a fruitful exercise.
So you want to say, just to drill down one layer deeper, so you want to feel that your death had purpose, not your life. Well,
yes, but your death as an extension, as a part of your life having purpose is important. It's like I want to die in a hail of gunfire, rescuing the children from a hospital that's exploding. That's like that kind of thing, where it's like, I gotta go.
But if you save a child from a hospital and then years later just die because explosive diarrhea, wasted, So it's like the act of your death has to be meaningful, not that your life had meaning prior to that moment. Like with it, like that's super specific. I just think. And weird.
Well, it's the illusion of thinking you have some control over your life, where it's like, well, my death, it will not be for naught. It's like, it probably will. we're all
definitely will.
It's gonna be random and pointless.
Yes.
Anyways,
as life is.
I digress. Let's talk about some of the greatness of this film.
Yes.
Erik?
There's tons of crazy cinematography in this film. A couple of really, really insane long takes, which us film buffs love. One scene in particular, they're in a car and they get ambushed, and it's like a 3-minute long take. It's absolutely insane. And as the situation gets worse, the windshield in their car shatters, and like there's still music playing on, like happy music playing on the radio. It's just so immersive. You really feel like you're there. So I'd love to hear what you guys have say about, sort of the cinematography, the editing, the direction, all the technical stuff of this film.
Erik, thank you as always. A peach. What do you think the strongest parts of this film are from a craft technical? Because I do think that's the craft side of it is the part that I think everyone from a film discussion standpoint would be talking about. It's the craft stuff. What do you think that stands out?
I think that's the most immediate, obvious takeaway from this film is the direction and the cinematography. I think all of it's great, right? Like I think just about all the performances are great. I think the story is great. I think the structure is great. I love so much of all of it. But I think the cinematography is the first thing you walk away from knowing. As Erik mentions, done by a man named Emmanuel Lubezki, who is probably second only to Roger Deakins, I would think, off the top of my head, in terms of really excellent, top-notch, the best cinematographers, DPs of the last 20, 30 years. His resume is expansive, and he's done most of the most memorable, to me, outside of Deakins, Lubezki has done the most memorable, unique, creative things with cinematography, I think, over the last couple of decades, including Birdman and The Revenant, Children of Men, Gravity. You know, he's a 3-time Oscar winner. Didn't win for this film, which is a crime, which we can come back to.
Who we can talk about? Who I'd like to know who's
Pan's Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth won. This film, Children of Men, nominated for 3 awards, Academy Awards, empty-handed. Absurd. I'm sorry. I haven't watched all of Pan's Labyrinth, so I guess my opinion is null and void. But it's not better than this. Like, this I think should be on the short list of best / most memorable cinematography work of all time. I'm gonna go that of all time.
Yeah.
This is incredible work, and really changed the way I thought of cinematography, like the things you can do. The long takes in this film are very famous. It's breathtaking. There are 8 to 10 breathtaking shots in this movie, and I don't say that lightly, and I don't say that as hyperbole. It's like I'm just like this the whole time. Like I'm just. What did you think?
I don't want to agree. I don't just on principle. I don't want to agree.
It's unnatural.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right. It feels really conflicted. But I have to. I can't. When you're right, you're right. It's this is just an elegant. I don't want to throw out the word masterpiece because I fucking hate I just don't like the word. It seems pretentious and shitty. No,
I love it.
I know. And Erik uses it too in his video. Like, but this is close to a Matt. Like, this movie makes me want to use that word. I wish I could come up with a new one, and especially on the cinematography front. I couldn't agree more.
The thing I love about long takes, and these ones in particular, are I love the moment of watching a film for the first time, and the way I notice long takes is always like a minute or two into the best ones that are long. I go like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, has it cut? Because you kind of catch up because you're sucked in, and I feel like people who follow film and know about film will know, so we're not telling you anything, but maybe for casual watchers, it's not just about the love of long takes by I think most movie lovers isn't just about the degree of difficulty it takes to execute, which it's a huge part of that because it's, you obviously have a ton of people. It's much less impressive in computerized films because you're controlling everything. When you're doing real world sets and you're following people and you have to choreograph all this action and different people doing different things, that's amazing. But it also, as a storytelling instrument, allows you, the director, you, the filmmaker, to keep the audience really locked in because a cut naturally, consciously or subconsciously, will release some of that tension. Do you agree?
Agree, 100%. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's why this film in particular is so amazing because the level of difficulty in these shots, like that final one is still, I don't care how much it's cobbled together. It's effing phenomenal because to me it's seamless. Like I never notice.
Yeah.
There's other films where you're like, oh, okay, it just lingers for a second behind this tree trunk in the dark and then comes back out. And you're like, that's where they cut it. This one, I never noticed that. And it goes through so many locations and the practical effects of explosions and gunfire and people that's film. Like, that's the power of filmmaking, I thought as I watched this the other night for the first time in a couple of years, and I know I say this all the time and it's a broken record and I'm like this old guy yelling at the clouds, but this movie is better than anything that's come since practically in terms of a big action film, because even though this isn't an action movie traditionally, it is kind of an action film.
But yeah, there's a significant amount of action in it.
Yeah.
That final scene, that's out of an action movie. That's out of it, like you could. Anyway, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Like, it's just like, it makes me think about, we just talked about Those Who Wish Me Dead, and in films like that, modern action movies where we talk about the effects, right? And you said you gotta
accept it.
You gotta take it. You gotta live with it. And it's like, no, fuck that. Like this movie exists. Children of Men exists. So why aren't movies now getting better? Like, put effort. Like, I know this sounds like a joke, but literally, write a great story. Put a lot of effort into everything. The detail, the genius of the way elements of the story are revealed. Try. Try. You can do it. You can do it. This is why I hate on Godzilla vs. Kong and all these movies. It's fucking trash. Make
there's
a movie.
two different things. There's two different things you're talking about. There's two different things. Like, from a storytelling standpoint, and you're talking about a writing standpoint, agree 100%. Try. Fucking try. But from a practical production standpoint, that's a separate issue that you're talking about. And just for the sake of argument, because I'd like to be on your side of the argument in real life, but to represent big business, the reason it's money. It's going to come down to the money and the vulnerability that studios will have, or the people fronting the money that will have to do those production things. It's so much easier and safer to surround you in a green screen and just make all that shit up. It's quicker,
but I can
it's
still
easier,
complain about that.
It's more cost effective. Of course you can. You're saying why? Why can't you do it? I'm telling you the reason why. We can both hate the reason, but the reason is very simple. It's money. It's money and it's safety.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. The reason why is that they're pieces of shit who don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So that's fine. But yeah, I just think, I looked at the budget of this film, I believe was $75 million, if I saw that correctly. And I mean, what do you think Godzilla vs. Kong was? 200 million?
Yeah,
250 million?
Yeah.
So it's almost like that if you think about it, it's not even that much better. Because imagine you could save 150 million on your initial budget, so your investment is less. So you know what I mean, and you get to make something that people will talk about forever. And
yes,
win
but the
awards.
Godzilla vs. Kong, you need that. We're digressing.
You get a real lizard and you get a real
exactly.
monkey.
What are we
and
doing?
You throw them in a cage.
You want
it's
the
not
1962
science.
version of those guys in suits, like meh. Erik brings up in his video the car scene. That car scene where Julianne Moore dies. And that really is a phenomenal scene. I hate to agree with Erik too, but I agree with his whole video really, because he's just naturally wrong. But he's right in this case. That scene specifically in a car is just mind blowing too. And that, like, how are you rigging that whole situation to go in and out of a car, have the window break? It's the level of difficulty and planning that goes into that stuff to make it look so seamless and effortless is a whole nother level that I could only dream to even sniff.
Absolutely. I just got the chills. The chills remembering that scene.
Yeah.
It's so, like, even though I've seen the movie, I've watched that scene, I know what's coming. It's so claustrophobic. It's so genius. You're just like, oh, get out of here, because you never leave that car. And any other filmmaker would leave to a wide shot. We need a wide shot. We need a cool shot of the motorcycle coming. It's like, no, you're just stuck here. You're like, please, get away.
Yeah. So from a filmmaking standpoint, I love that scene for the reasons that we've been discussing. But from a storytelling sense as well, that scene has everything in it. That scene has different levels of conflict that are happening in the scene.
Fuck you staring at?
Apparently the pleasure's all mine.
It shifts from conflict to romance. You learn about these characters. You learn more about their relationship, their unique connection with that ball game that you're playing. You wouldn't play that with someone that you didn't have a very close personal relationship. I mean, obviously we've done that before, but not a lot of people would be doing that. That's a joke. How did you not? We've not spit balls into each other's mouths.
Yeah, we've done that.
You should be laughing. Now it just seems like, yes, we've done that.
Keith, we said we'd never tell anyone.
That one night in college. Anyway, Jesus. But all of these things, thank you for fucking finally laughing, Jesus. But all of those beats mean a lot to the greater story. They mean a lot to these character development. It hooks me at an emotional level so that gut punch when Julianne Moore dies moments later, you don't see it coming. So when everything is hitting in your film, even for one scene, it's spectacular. It is spectacular filmmaking.
Absolutely. I noticed that several times throughout in terms of the story structure and the way that the way that the film parses out its information to you. And I noticed, like, brilliant in the sense that you gain perspective on the world and what's happening by newscasts, by newspaper clippings and photos, and through a joke that Michael Caine tells. He tells that joke.
And he looks up at them, and he's chewing on this great big wing. And he says, I haven't the faintest idea, he said. But this stalk is quite tasty, isn't it?
This is great. You know, and again, I know this is like punching down a little bit. I'm always picking on Godzilla vs. Kong and Mortal Kombat, but it's not because like I anyone thinks those movies are good, because obviously we all don't. But it's just because they're most recent in my mind.
Someone does. Someone does.
They're not watching this show.
You're right.
Just because they're the most recent in my mind.
Yes.
So I know that they're not so high level that we should be comparing everything. But where it's like a Mortal Kombat, all of the exposition is delivered by Sonya Blade in that trailer. Let me just tell you everything that's happening. And this film is a great counter to that. Of just like, no, there's another way to do that. Like, you can be subtle and slowly you gain information over time, which is...
Well, not only do you gain information, this is another film that unfolds on top of itself, which is a version of storytelling that I really do appreciate. I think it's really interesting what this film does explain, and equally as interesting as what this film does not explain. It's a really fine line, and I would be super critical. I'll say I'm one of the first ones to be really critical when I don't feel something is explained that should be, that I feel like a piece of information that I need as a storyteller to invest deeper rather than a surface level. And this film, I think, really straddles that line of giving information, or not even giving, showing information, not necessarily just talking information, presenting information from a film standpoint, and then not getting bogged down in the weeds of information, because there's a whole bigger world issue that we can get into. And the biggest example of that is, I don't think we ever know, and correct me if I'm wrong, why the world is infertile, why women have become infertile. I don't think there was ever a specific hard reason as to why that is. It just is.
All right. What else we got here?
Performances. Erik, tell us about the performances. Would you?
What did you like? What didn't you like? Just break it down for us.
I'd be really be interested to hear what you guys have to say about the cast. I think the cast is fantastic. The direction is fantastic. I think Alfonso Cuarón got just the perfect performances that he needed for this film out of these actors. With like the exception, I didn't love Julianne Moore. Like, I thought she kind of mailed it in. She was the only she's the only thing I don't like about the movie. I think maybe they should have cast someone else. I don't know who. I'd be interested to hear like your suggestions. But I thought Clive Owen was fantastic. He was like the perfect protagonist. He's an everyman. He doesn't pick up a gun one time. He's not like a big fighter. He's not a big tough guy. He just knows how to survive.
As the resident actor of the group. I agree with Erik almost across the board. Erik, really batting 1,000 so far.
Yeah.
I think the performances are just about all very good. I think Clive Owen is wonderful. He's great at just looking like this drunk, beat down, defeated guy who's still strong. You can believe him as sort of this reluctant hero. I think Clive Owen's a very good actor. As Monique and I watched this film, we both wondered out loud, what happened to Clive Owen? I feel like I haven't seen him in much of the last 7 years or so, give or take. And he had quite the run there of like being in a lot of movies. and look forward to whatever his next stuff is, because he's very good. I kind of agree that Julianne Moore does not do, I don't know. I can't tell if it's her fault or if it's the way she was directed to be or written to be. I think she's kind of fine in the beginning, but then some of her deliveries are a little weird and blocky, and then I think it's strange. This is more character based, but like when she like kisses him as they're walking to the place, and and then all of a sudden in the car, like you mentioned the ping pong ball thing, like that always felt kind of weird to me and kind of forced, where it's like, I know what it's doing to establish their relationship and their intimacy, but it's been 20 years since they've seen each other, and they've probably left each other under not great circumstances, it sounds like, but they're like immediately kind of like romantic again. It all goes a little weird, and her performance is a part of that, but
I didn't have a problem with Julianne Moore's performance. She didn't do anything revelatory, in my opinion. The reason you have a name, I think the reason she's in it is because she has a name. She carries some weight, and I think that helps sell her death even more as a big turning point in the film. So
she's an amazing actress.
Yeah.
So I'm not hating on her.
It sounds like you're hating on her a little bit.
No, but even amazing performers can give.
Not everyone
their
does
best.
great work every time out. Yeah, but in the grand scheme of things, after seeing the film, she's not in it that much. She's not distracting to me because she's such a small part of the film. It's nice to have someone in that role have a little bit more weight. If I'm casting and I'm directing this film, I want that because I know the audience is going to inherently be one step closer to that character because of their relationship with Julianne Moore. Regardless, she is a beloved actress, so I'm going to like her going in. I thought the woman, the pregnant woman, was really good as well. I thought she did a great job. But everyone did great. Michael Caine, like he's a legend. The top to bottom, great.
What were outside of the car scene? And outside of that final long take that's about 10 minutes long or whatever it is, 8 minutes long, what are some moments or some scenes that stood out to you as being particularly affecting or memorable? I
mean, that final scene. I love that final scene. From a storytelling, from an emotional standpoint, sitting in that boat, waiting, surrounded in that cloud coverage, that fog coverage, not being able to see anything. In my head, I'm like, that boat's never coming. I was like, that boat's never coming. And he's gonna die on this boat. She's gonna die on this boat. It's gonna be left. Like maybe they get saved, but maybe not. I thought that was kind of gonna be the cliffhanger. But just that feeling is an exciting feeling to have from the end of a film. I really love how the film ended.
No, it's brilliant. I wonder if it'd be better if it was like Inception, where you just kind of see like this thing out in the distance that you're not really sure, and it ends with her like squinting.
Yeah.
That's what it made me think of when you were talking about that. No, it's such a beautiful ending.
Yeah.
Two additional scenes that got me really hard this time, and I can't remember how they affected me before, but I cried in two scenes, I think, which was the childbirth scene. I think, my God, is that an intense, intimate, personal, like, again, one take, one shot, just moving around them, showing the different perspectives, this dirty room, she's crying, and
I can't do it.
Pops this baby out. It's like so, Clive Owen's performance in that moment, and the young woman, apologies for neither of us knowing her name off the top of our heads.
I don't know anyone's name, though, so you can't take offense to it.
Yeah, Keith, he pleads the fifth. No, pleads ignorance.
I'm just
but
pleading.
That scene is like really gut-wrenching and powerful. Mm-hmm. And then, as Erik mentions,
I'm not smart enough to talk about the overarching themes of the film. I think it's about sort of, redemption and faith and survival. I think it speaks a lot about human nature. This film speaks a ton about human nature. There's a scene at the end where they're walking through a crowd of soldiers with like the first baby born in like 18 years, and everyone's just silent, looking at them walking through the crowd with the baby. And then someone just shoots an RPG at a tank, and all hell breaks loose, and everyone starts killing each other again, and it makes you feel like this is humanity, like we are fucked.
I love that kind of moment where it's like in this chaotic, crazy world, Like it's literally in the middle of a war zone. Everyone is united by their wonder and love and just like shock of this innocence of this child. And like that is an incredibly powerful segment. It's an incredibly powerful portion of the film. And such an interesting commentary, I think, as Erik alludes to too, about just like human nature and in the midst of such violence and chaos, the things that unite us and the things that should unite us. And then there's a lot of cool, conversation that can be had around that.
Yeah,
it's really powerful.
But as quickly as it begins, it ends just as quickly, and I think that's another metaphor, this about how we'll never fully change. We'll never get away from that side of humanity. Yeah. We'll have only brief moments of it. We'll have brief moments that unite us and come together, and there will be love and respect and a moment of peace, but that will end too.
Stop hating each other.
Yeah, for real. Like, there's no fucking reason for it.
We know you come to the Bluff Council for your moral and philosophical pump-up speeches, but just stop hating each other. It's stupid. It's such a waste of time.
100%. There's no fucking reason.
Stupid.
There's no reason for this amount of hate. Stop it.
We could be living in a fucking paradise here. People talk about don't get me started. Don't get me fucking started. Stop hating each other, you pieces of shit.
Yes.
Stop being greedy, pieces of shit, hateful, fucking idiots.
Pieces of shit.
We could just be smiling and laying around and drinking wine.
Just jerking
everyone off. It could be the Garden of Eden around here. Yeah.
How you doing? This could be us.
Eating berries, getting jerked off by two people apparently.
Yeah.
Just wine orgies.
Just why not? Why the fuck not just love everyone? Just love and respect everyone, and we'll be fucking K.
It would be great. Be great.
Okay. Fix it by next episode.
Wine orgies. We could just be, that could be society.
Oh, you guys don't like wine orgies? All of a sudden you don't like wine orgies?
Fucking idiots. Idiots. I blame the church and the vaccines.
I know my husband is not vaccinating people and putting a microchip in her arm because that technology doesn't even exist and he's never uttered the words out of his mouth, so.
Erik's correct. He is not smart enough to understand or process these things. And I'll also say Keith is also in the same boat. So we'll just glaze this stuff over.
Erik and I are in that same boat, and then I die, and Erik lives on with the baby.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. I don't know shit. Go ahead.
So just in general, I love, as Erik mentions, I think towards the beginning of his video, dystopian films. And I do think that this is an ideal, like the ideal dystopian film in a lot of ways. Because a backdrop of like sort of post-apocalyptic events allows for so much commentary and exploration of human nature and the things we do when we have to revert back to like a survivalist kind of primal mindset, which is why I think so many great stories come from this genre. And I do agree that Children of Men is sort of one of the benchmarks of greatness.
One more thing I want to ask, and you can cut this however you want, but one thing is, did you guys pick up like a Jesus motif with Clive Owen's character, like a savior, Jesus, Joseph motif?
Erik mentions religion. You're a religious guy. Did you see it?
Huge religious guy.
I'm a huge God guy.
Big fan of the God.
She will be a phone sex operator.
That can't be right. Just me? I think it is on purpose. I do think... Here's what I think is on purpose. I think the
now you fucked me up.
Yeah, it's impossible to say. You can't say it. Giggity. Ambiguity. I can't even say the word.
Ambiguity is what you're going to say?
I can't say it.
Ambiguity.
Pronounce it at home and see if you can do it. Say it 3 times and see if you can do it.
Ambiguity.
Yes, that word is on purpose. All of that ambi stuff is on purpose. I think it is meant to make people have these types of conversations. I think the God stuff, the Jesus stuff, the Savior trope, I think the allusion to it is put in on purpose. I don't think there is a definitive answer from the filmmaker standpoint, because clearly I know exactly what he was thinking. But I don't believe, if you had to ask me, I don't believe they were like, yes, we're going to make him be Jesus, and that's what we are referring to him subliminally or subconsciously or whatever. But that's an active choice we're making as a director to present him in that light. I think we're going to just make loose references, and if people want to see that, they will.
Okay. I mean, I think there's probably a more concrete answer where, I mean, we haven't mentioned yet that the film is based on a novel, a 1992 book written by P.D. James, and which neither of us has read. So we can't really allude to how strong it is. I read a little something about that the biblical religious ideals or imagery or whatever was, I think, a little stronger in the book, and that Cuarón sort of scaled back a little bit on that.
You saying that makes me feel like I was right in my assessment of not doing any research on that front. But if the book was so much more biblical focused and he pulled it back but left some of it in, it just makes me feel like I was right in my assessment, is that he left that in for people to have that if they want it. If they choose to have that, they have it. It's there for you to make that interpretation.
Yeah. So clearly, again, we should say we don't know anything.
Yeah.
What's that guy's name told us to read the book? Jake? Is that the commenter?
There was, someone was fired up about our lack of referencing the book.
We read the book. And I want him to know I've won 4 regional Emmys, okay? I'm not a 2-time nominee. I've won 4. Keith won 27, 30.
Not that many. It's irrelevant.
It's insane. His are worthless, but mine mean a lot.
Yeah.
Do some research, Jake.
He did. In his defense, he was like, I did research, which made me nervous. I was like, I don't want the spotlight.
Go to my website. It's in my bio. Go to my website, Jake. evduran.com, utbstudios.com.
Okay, we're doing 15 minutes on Jake. Jake,
Google me, Jake. We appreciate your support.
Please subscribe, Jake.
Thank you for watching. Genuinely.